All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, August 8th, 2023. My name is Bill Soroka, founder of Notary Business Builder and author of Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent, and the new book I co-wrote with Laura Biewer, Beyond Loan Signings, the ultimate guide to monetizing your notary commission through specialty work. I'm here with two special co-hosts today. Obviously, Laura Biewer. Laura is on the road right now. Laura, do you want to take a moment to introduce, or you want to do that when you get to a computer?
How about when I get to a computer? Because I'm driving.
All right, no problem. And then our special co-host today on TNT is none other than Matt Miller, founder of the California League of Independent Notaries, or CLIN. Hey, Matt, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Bill. Welcome, everyone. Matt from the California League of Independent Notaries, also a busy notary here in the San Francisco Bay Area and co-author of the Apostille Agent Survival Guide. Excited to be here today and hear your questions and comments. Also, I'll be monitoring the chat, so feel free to use the chat. It is open.
Awesome. Thank you. And Matt, can you tell our audience how a CLIN membership can bring value no matter what state a notary might be in?
Sure. So what we do at the CLIN is we are an advocacy group for notaries, and we make your voice heard on legislation and policy issues that affect you and your business, not only here in California, but nationwide. There are a federal bill right now that we're watching that we may need your help on. We send out emails, and we have an email system so you can send an email to your legislators. We also have a very powerful online directory that is SEO energized, and we do monthly newsletters that have great tips and tools in them, and a monthly roundtable where I get your feedback on what you'd like to see happen in your state and with this business. So check us out at calnotaries.org.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And I've heard amazing things about your roundtables, and I can't wait for the next one. I'm going to put that on my calendar so I don't miss it again. All right, let's get into TNT. This is your time to get your questions answered by the experts. The best way to do this is to use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and that can be in a different place depending on your device and the version of Zoom that you have. But usually, if you hover your mouse over my face right now, a little toolbar opens up along the bottom, and you can click reactions, or there's a raise. Oh, now there's a raise hand button. So now there's its own button that says raise hand. So that should work for you. When we call you, please tell us what state you're in. Jump right into your question without too much backstory, and then you can mute out, and Matt, me, or Laura will do our best to answer your question. And here's the amazing thing about a group like this, is if you have a solution or an answer to one of the questions that you have in your state, you can use the chat to share your perspective as well. Remember, be kind, be professional when you're in that chat. This is an amazing opportunity to connect with like-minded notaries, professionals, signing companies, and even attorneys across the country on this call today. Gia, thank you so much for your patience. I saw you raise your hand right away when you jumped in here. Tell everybody what state you're in and how we can help.
Yes, I'm on my way to a signing, but I wanted to ask this question. Happy Tuesday. I'm in California. I'm going to jump right into two questions, hopefully. First question, what is the rule for the date? Can you not notarize a document that is dated after, like sign it after the date is dated, or sign it before the date is dated? So if it's dated today, August 8th, but they want me to do the signing tomorrow, can I notarize it? Or could I have notarized it yesterday, August 7th? That's my question. That's my first question.
Great question, Gia. So clarify for me what you mean by dated. Are you saying like the signature line dates have already been pre-filled, or are you specifically talking about the promissory note that might be dated for August 13th, but you're signing on August 8th?
Both.
So you've got a loan signing where the promissory note is dated within the contract for a future date. And the lender has pre-filled the signature dating lines.
Yes.
Okay. Matt, what's your opinion on this? In
Yeah,
California?
so there are a couple things. The date on the signature line of your signer has to be the day of or before your notary acknowledgement or jurat. So if it's an acknowledgement, it could have been signed anytime before up until including the day that you're notarizing. If it is a jurat, the signature's signer date should be the exact same day as the day that you're notarizing. On a non-notarized document, like the note, for example, that's out of your lane. So they can put whatever date they want on that. But, you know, it might cause problems for them when they are receiving the documents. But just keep in mind, when you're notarizing documents for an acknowledgement, can be any day leading up to and including the day you're notarizing. For a jurat, has to be the same day that you are notarizing. Does that make sense?
Matt, can you elaborate on exactly why that is? I love that you went there, but on the jurat in particular.
So the jurat is different from an acknowledgement in the way that it uses the language subscribed and sworn before me. Subscribed meaning the signer signed the document and was put on, swore means put under an oath before you on the day that you notarize. So that's why those two have to match. For an acknowledgement, they could have signed it 2 weeks ago and then acknowledged to you that they signed that document. Doesn't matter when that happened, as long as it's up to or including the day that you're notarizing.
And then
Okay.
Gia, I want to elaborate a little bit too on the note, because that's a big pain point for some lenders, not all. So if the lender says, we don't care if it's dated for the 13th, but you can sign whenever because we authorize that. And a lot of times the note won't even have a date on the signature line anyway, then you're good to go, right? They're the boss when it comes to that. But it's worthy of a clarifying question, right? Like, hey, I noticed that your note is dated the 13th and here it is just the 8th. Are you cool to proceed? And sometimes they'll say, oh my gosh, thanks for catching that. No, we have to wait to the 13th. Or they'll say, no problem, just get it signed.
Thank you for explaining that, you all. I just want to make sure I heard you right. For the note, you want to check with the lender if it's dated in advance of the day of the signing. For an acknowledgement, it can be signed before, but you can acknowledge it by notarizing it after they signed. You can do the notarization for an acknowledgement. For a jurat, it has to be signed on the day of the jurat because that's where you're swearing to the document. Correct?
Correct.
And the
they're
notary is
before
witnessing
you
that
that day.
signature. Yeah.
Okay. My other question, if I may, is an AKA. I have been getting here lately a lot of AKAs in the notarial certificate. It'll say John Doe, AKA John David Doe. And of course, the signer ID says John David Doe. So I was taught by the NNA that I cannot have an AKA in the notarial certificate, right? Because the signer in these scenarios only has the ID to support the name after the AKA. My question for you is that correct? And the second thing, on the signature line, if it has an AKA, is that any of my business as a notary?
Great question. And Matt, would you like to?
Sure. You're in California, right, Gia?
Yes.
Yeah. So in California, you can't include any AKA's title or capacity in your notarial certificate. It has to be the name that matches up with the document, so long as the ID supports that. So for example, in my case, my ID says Matthew Grant Miller, but I'm known in the world as Matt G. Miller. So if my document has Matt G. Miller on my signature line, that's what you're going to put on your notarial certificate. You couldn't say Matthew G. Miller, AKA Matt G. Miller in your notarial certificate.
Got it. What if the title or the lender already pre-printed the AK on the signature line? You would sign. That's none of my, that part's none of my business, just a notary certificate.
Correct.
Got it.
Your
Okay.
certificate is what you got to worry about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great questions, Gia. Kick us off with a great lesson. All right, Lakeisha, thank you so much for being here. Tell oh, it looks like you're in, oh gosh, is it Michigan?
Yes,
MI?
again.
All
In the
right,
Great
good.
Lakes State.
Thanks for being here. How can we help?
Thanks. Those first questions are quite helpful. I have a couple of questions, and it may be that Matt can help with this as well. I'm hoping he'll put a link to his roundtable discussion in the chat, because I'm wondering, is there an entity out there that supports the notary's point of view for different things like security and also compensation? I know we all route through the NNA, but the NNA is not really our representative. And times are changing. I know in Michigan, we've had some things that happen, and you have lenders that say they don't want you to take any type of thing for protection or security. And things are changing out here. It's starting to get quite concerning. You don't necessarily want to go into all areas and not have something to protect yourself. So I'm just wondering if there is an entity out there that's already doing that type of work.
Well, thanks Lakeisha for the question. We do a lot of advocacy work for California notaries here in California and at the federal level regarding notarial policy specifically. However, there are a lot of state level organizations across the country that do advocacy work for their state's notaries more specifically. I'm not aware of any Michigan groups off top of mind. However, there might be. If someone knows of one, put one in the chat. But when you're talking about safety and security devices on your notary appointments, is that up to and including firearms?
It is. I noticed that some of the instructions that come through will explicitly say to the notary not to carry a weapon. And that is to me.
That is something that a hiring party can specify. And if you're not comfortable with those particular agreements or policies, then those might not be your customers. But for everyone on the call, you need to be familiar not only with your state laws regarding weapons, but also your municipality laws regarding weapons. And that's what I would refer to. And they're different everywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, that's interesting about that is a topic that I know is of interest to many notaries: personal security, safety, and then you can break that into the firearms and weapons subsect as well. If the resource does not exist, it might be an opportunity to explore how to bring that value to the community as well. Because we're in an emerging market. We've been here for 1,000 years, but we're way behind. And this is not only an exciting time to be a notary public, but there's new things that we're confronted with every day. And personal safety should be our top priority in that too. So it's a conversation. I don't know exactly what that looked like. You get to decide that for yourself, Lakeisha. But if you're thinking it and others feel strongly about it, it's worthy of its own place at the table, right? So you might explore how to move forward on that as well. And then I love that Shelley brought up Dashika Hill at the Michigan Notary Consortium. If you haven't connected to Lakeisha or Dashika yet, you definitely want to do that. She runs an annual event, but she's also, it's not just training and sales and business development. She's tied in the legislative process as well in Michigan too. So it might be a good connection for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All right. So before we move on to these other great questions, I want to bring out Laura Biewer. Some people know her as the greatest of all time in the notary community, and she is my co-author in Beyond Loan Signings and a great friend. Laura, welcome. Tell everybody about you.
I don't know if I can add anything better than what you already said, but yes, guys, if it's possible for someone not to know me on this call today, my name is Laura Biewer. I am a notary, active notary in the state of California, and I teach notaries to be confident and competent regardless of their specialty. And I'm also a co-creator with Bill on the Notary Business Builder. So excited always to come every week and hear your questions, because learning how to be a better notary takes deliberate practice. And this is one of the ways that you can grow yourself so that you can grow your business. So thanks for being here today.
Laura, thank you so much. I'm glad you made it. And if somebody, let's just say somebody was intimidated with 126 notaries on the call, but they had a specific specialty notary work question for you, do you have a resource available, a more intimate group than TNT? Is that possible?
It is possible, because you know anything's possible. It is called Laura's Inner Circle. All you need to do is go to my website, coachmelaura.com. Scroll down the homepage a little bit till you see Laura's Inner Circle. You're going to give me your email address. I'll send you an email that says, did you want to join this? When you say yes, then you'll get the link. And it's Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And it's free. And it runs about 18, 20 people. So it's a much smaller group than this one.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Sue Wetzel, thank you so much for being here. Unmute, tell everybody what state you're in and how can we help?
Hi, I'm from California, so I have two questions. So Matt, do you see that we will go to remote online notarization anytime soon?
Bum, bum, bum.
Well, we still have an active bill in the legislature. Amendments are being sorted out on some practical matters. The legislature is currently on recess. They come back the third Monday of August, which is in a couple of weeks. And I would expect that we'll see some movement on the bill. And if not this legislative session, then they'll have to have till the end of January 1st to vote on the bill and move it out. The consensus in Sacramento right now is we've got to get something done. Otherwise, we're going to get preempted by the federal government, and no, but that's not good for anyone. It's just about how we're going to do this in California. As you know, we have a lot of special things we got to watch out for in California. So that's what we're working on right now. But just for all the California notaries on the call, even if we do pass a bill this year, the Secretary's office is going to need several years runway to get up and running. So we're looking at probably later in the decade before we are live in California.
Okay, perfect. Then Bill thank you, Matt. So Bill, my next question is for you. So I don't know that I have all my acronyms correct, but I signed up for the certification for the attorney
Trust.
The Certified Notary Trust Delivery
Thank-
Agent Program, that one, Sue? It
That
just rolls
one.
off the tongue.
Exactly. So one
Awesome.
of the things, and I was going to go in and post it on, and by the way, you did a great job on it. So I was going to go post on the program and ask the question, but Bill, you had stated that who you were going to go after was attorneys that dealt with individuals that had a very expensive portfolio.
High net worth.
Yes, there you go. I told you I wasn't going to know all the right
I got you. I got you.
So how would you target that audience?
Such a good question. It's not like they advertise that, right?
Right.
Although some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them will say high net worth individuals. I'm the attorney for you, right? That makes it really easy. I love it. I have a hard time reading between the lines, so I love it when somebody just lays it out there for me. But what I had to do, so in my city, and at the time when I did this marketing, I was in Phoenix. But every city has these areas, right? Like as a kid, it was where the rich people lived, or where the hot skyscrapers were, or the nice buildings, right? Like it was the neighborhood. So in Phoenix, for me, it's an area called the Biltmore, and it's right off the Camelback Financial District. So I knew it has a ton of packed wealth in there. So the attorneys that can, one, afford office space there, and two, are there for what's the prominence or because their client base are going to respect that address, I have to assume that they're probably appealing to that demographic, because that's where the Phoenix Suns players have their home. Everybody's there. It's adjacent to Paradise Valley, where that has the most concentrated core group of millionaires in the country, those types of things. So I had to do a little bit of research because I was from there. I knew that. So I just targeted that main area, and it's literally like a 2-mile block, and there's thousands of attorneys in that block. So that's how I started. And then I started having conversations from there.
Did you start by going into the office and meeting and greeting that way, or did you start off with an email?
Yeah, I'm not big into the popping into the office as the first visit personally. And that's mainly because I'm an introvert and that makes me uncomfortable. So I did use LinkedIn almost entirely in that particular instance, because the attorneys who are appealing to that net worth individual, that person, they need a LinkedIn presence, and some of their firms require it. And some of their firms have LinkedIn administrators that do it for the attorneys, right? They build their profiles and stuff for them. So it was actually easier when I elevated. And one of the lessons that I took away from this is that the attorneys that are easiest to find on LinkedIn in particular are the easiest to work with, because they're hungry for new business. They're open to new ideas. They're open to ways that they can scale their business or make a bigger impact.
Are you finding that since COVID, that the attorneys are still having brick and mortar offices, or have they gone more to working at home in their own offices?
Yeah, this is such a great question. So I would say, like, I could give you a number, but it would be total random out my head. What I will say is that it's an old-fashioned industry. There's still a lot of attorneys that think old-fashioned. They're forcing their clients to come in. The idea of using a mobile notary is still uncomfortable to them. There's still plenty of those, right? Like good, solid 50 or 60%. So it's going to take a little more conversation. But what we've got now is the pandemic situation. And then we've got all these emerging, there's 30,000 plus new attorneys graduating every year. They're thinking differently. And they don't want the overhead. They don't want the staunch leather furniture, marble lobbies. They don't want to deal with that. So they're virtual law firms. There's a lot more of those. And I love connecting to a virtual law firm because they have no choice. They need boots on the ground notaries. They can't do all of their signings themselves, all their living trust deliveries. They can't do it themselves. If they can handle all of their own signings, then they don't have enough volume to support you. So it's okay. But if they are trying to make an impact on the world, they're trying to help more people, they need you. And that's why I love those virtual law firms. And yes, there are more and more and more of those coming out. And if you don't mind, Sue, I'd love to hear both Matt and Laura's perspective on this too, because all three of us have specialized in this. Laura, you haven't had a chance to speak too much today. Would you take this and share your perspective?
Well, I want to start with saying I didn't target high net worth. That wasn't my target. So I didn't do the kind of research that Bill did. My target was estate planning attorneys, all of them. If there was somebody that I didn't like when I did a job for them, I just took them off my list and didn't take any more work from them. But estate planning attorneys that were in my area specifically, and then a couple of legal plans who have many attorneys that are on like retainer to do that. And so that's how I started with it. And then the attorneys, because I have an office presence downtown where like all the attorneys are, all the different kinds, they knew who I was because I was inside an attorney's office and I was being recommended from one attorney to the next, sometimes just to a family law for a particular document, and sometimes it was the estate planning. So having a physical presence by renting a cubicle within an attorney's office gave me kind of the inside track to them in a more social way. right? So it wouldn't be surprising to see one attorney visit another, or for me to go take care of something and there's another attorney in that office. So that was really how I slowly built that. Matt?
Thanks. So, I have done the same working with estate planning lawyers near me, but also I've had great success with firms who specialize just in estate law, probate law, that sort of thing. Because what I find is even though they might have an office, say, for example, in LA, they likely have customers all over the state or all over the country and will need remote notaries to take care of transactions for those type of clients. Number two is I also have focused on reaching out to the do-it-yourself type companies like Trust and Will, like Rocket Documents, those sorts of companies, because all of their documents need to be notarized as well. And if you build a relationship with these companies, they will often recommend you to their clients when their clients reach out and ask, well, what do I do now? Where do I find a notary? So those are two things that have worked very well for me. And then I also put one thing in the chat that I'll mention here, and that is if you are using Bing or Google Ads, you can set your ads up to target high net worth or high income demographics as known to Google. And that's been helpful for me as well. So those are the three things that I would recommend.
Excellent suggestions. Sue, how
Can
was
I-
that?
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
So that was interesting, Matt, what you said about Google Ads. So can you talk a little bit more about that and how much are you doing? And it's got to be paying off if you mentioned it.
Well, I'm not going to dive too deep into it because it could be a whole hour by itself. But when you're setting up your Google Ads, a lot of people will set up a geographic target and they stop there. But you can go a lot deeper. You can tell it what time of day to run your ads, what type of people to make your ad appear for, as far as homeowners or known incomes above $100,000, for example. Or certain neighborhoods, like here in San Francisco, some of the more high net worth, high income neighborhoods are Pacific Heights and Nob Hill. So I want my ads to be displayed more in those neighborhoods as opposed to, say, the Tenderloin. So those are some things that you can do with your Google Ads account to kind of help it target your ideal client. But I would suggest if you're really interested in optimizing your Google account, you should find some specialized guidance. There's a lot of YouTube videos, there's tons of articles, or you can hire someone to do it for you.
Not much going on in the Tenderloin. Sorry, that was funny.
Did anybody else get hungry when he said Tenderloin? I was like, all right, it is lunchtime.
It
Let's
has
go.
an entirely different meaning than what you think.
All right, good to know. I'm not afraid to
Homeless,
Google it.
homeless at its finest.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Totally different. All right. Well, and the other thing I'll say about Google Ads too, because I've been researching this too. This is one of those things that we're going to add to NBB very soon as well. But sometimes as little as $100 a month can make all the difference in your call volume, and it helps even with the SEO portion, especially as Matt was saying. The more niche down you get, the higher quality the leads that you get. So when the phone rings, you're like, I'm scrambling to get it because I was so specific about who I was trying to target that I know that person is my customer. So,
Get
and
it
there's,
out, Russ.
okay. Great. Okay. So great questions. Sue, man, this is sparking such great conversation today. I absolutely love it. Shayla, thank you so much for your patience. Always love seeing you on these calls. Welcome. I know you're in Colorado because we just got to meet in person. How can we help today?
Yeah, so I know I posted this question on one of our forums, but I wanted to make sure that I had clarity in the answers to my questions. When it comes to, and like, I know you can look at this from like the signing owner perspective, though. For a business owner that has like 1099 contractors working for their business, are those people considered employees to your business?
No, they are not. Short answer is no, they are absolutely not. In fact, the delineation is employee and contractor, and here's what makes a contractor, and here's what makes an employee. So there's no crossover. And this is, I tried to get as creative as I possibly could with this many times in my career, but a contractor is a contractor and an employee is an employee. And there's not a whole lot of room to wiggle around that. Now, what was interesting though, and this is, and I'm glad Phil's here too, but because even in the post that I answered, I was going to suggest Legal Shield because they have been instrumental in just giving me the insight and the path forward to change the structure of some of my businesses. So in instance, and again, this is kind of general for everybody, but for most of us, we're solopreneurs. We might own an LLC. We might be sole proprietors. Sometimes we convert to an S corporation. But one of the main reasons I converted to the S corp was because I hit a certain income threshold where it started to make sense for me to pay myself as an employee because the benefits, the tax benefits really started to pay off that way. So then I'm a paid employee of my company. And then my company has a legal employee. I'm paying myself a paycheck. So I do have an employee. The rest are contractors.
Okay. So yeah, so this fell into some of the research category for my project that we can call Project EP for now. So, and I know that I had a breakthrough on Friday, and I feel like the employee thing might be a holdup.
Yes, I noticed that as well as I was reading that. I think you have there's that and then well, there's one other one. We can talk about that separately. But again, I think there's some creative outside the box things. And if you want to have a off the call conversation where we can stop talking in code,
Right.
we could totally dive into that. There's always a solution. Now, when you're playing with the government, though, like in your particular case, they don't always play ball. And if they do play ball, they don't play as fast as you'd like. So, it might work, it might not, but I think you've got some workarounds too, if they'll play ball with you. Awesome. And I love that you're thinking this big, Shayla. This is the exciting thing. And Shayla's part of our NVB, which is why I love being a part of NVB myself, is this kind of big thinking that you don't have all the answers, right? Like Shayla's literally taking one step and shining a light and trying to find the next step. Like you never know what you're going to run into, but this is how innovation works. And it's super exciting. So thank you, Shayla. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just shoot me a text. We'll get on the call.
Okay.
James Berry in California. Welcome.
Hey guys, thank you so much. Boy, the questions have been really great today. I'm James Berry. I'm in Rosemead, California, in the beautiful San Gabriel Valley. And I was wondering, how important do you think is having separate social media accounts is for your notary business?
Tell me what you mean by separate. You mean having business accounts and then your own personal account?
Well, I think that part kind of answered itself, but how important do you think having those social media accounts for your business really is?
Good question. Definitely have some opinions.
Because that's a job unto itself. So
oh my gosh. And people make the big bucks managing that for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really great question. I'd like to hear 3 different perspectives here. Laura, what's your take on social media in the growth of your business?
So I tell you that I did a lot of growing with my business, and I didn't have prevalent social media accounts. I had them, but I did not take the time to be, designing posts and all of that. I would respond to stuff that was there. If somebody tagged me, I responded to that. But what I found as my business did grow to a certain level and I wanted to step out, I needed it at that point. I needed that social media to create a presence out there so that people would know who I was, what I was about, what my brand was, and would recognize me amongst other trainers, other notaries, other speakers, and not get me confused with others. So in the beginning, it wasn't a big deal when I was a notary and I was just notarizing, and I wasn't trying to be looking for notaries to seek me out for training. When I was just looking for clients to notarize, it wasn't a big deal for me. But once I grew past that, then yes, it started to be a bigger deal, and it is a job into itself.
Thank you, Laura. Matt, what's your take specifically? Let's even laser it in a little bit on the practitioner side of things. Do you find social media to be of value for your notary services?
Absolutely. I think that it's every bit as necessary as your business website. And the reason I believe so strongly in having dedicated social media accounts for your business versus your personal accounts is, one, you want to be able to have personal posts on your personal accounts versus business posts on your business accounts. And two, and this might be even more important, is social proof. And for those who aren't familiar with that term, what that means is, let's say you have a website, James Berry Notary Public. Well, Google looks for other things that sounds and looks and directs you to jamesberrymobilenotary.com. And the more things that it finds out in the interwebs, the higher it pushes your website up in search results. So I think just for social proof, you should have separate accounts for your business versus personal.
That's excellent perspective. So, and James, I'll piggyback on what Matt just said from an SEO perspective or social proof even. It's the way it's a necessity. Like if you were to go to a search engine optimization or a digital marketing person and say, here, I need some help. One of the first things they're going to do is they're going to open up hundreds, because there's hundreds of social media platforms. We've heard of like 5, but there's hundreds. But they're going to try to get your name across all of those just for the reasons Matt described, that it's going to help elevate your brand presence. The other piece of this, though, is simply brand recognition. And even though the reality is most consumers are not jumping on Instagram to find a notary, they're not going to Facebook. They're like, oh, I need a notary. Let me jump on Facebook or TikTok. That's not how it works. Most people are just going to Google notary near me. But if you have used social media to establish a brand for yourself, and your potential customers, your prospects, have had a chance to get to know you, like you, and trust you, then they might save your information to their phone. They might recognize your name. If you popped up on Google and you were number 10, but they remember seeing your social media, that might enhance the chance that they're going to hire you that way. So that's why I think it's extremely important. But here's the other thing too. Where even though when I was just doing notary work, I had like a business page. I didn't know how to use my Facebook business page yet. You know, I was young in the business. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be posting, but what I did do is I posted to my personal, and I didn't post sales. So it wasn't like higher bills notary services, right? It wasn't that, but I would share my journey. I would post pictures of my flat tires on the freeway. I would post pictures of my Starbucks coffee. I would post pictures of these small towns that I was driving hundreds of miles a day for. And then I'd post about how many miles I drove that day. I mean, it was like 400 miles a day, right? It was crazy. I was build a crazy notary. But what that did after a few weeks or months of doing that, anytime somebody would post ISO in search of a notary on Facebook, I'm getting tagged by dozens of people because we're all friends, right? So I'm getting hired because other people might be searching there, and I'm getting tagged in those. So it has served very well. So I don't think it's something you want to ignore, but I also, the advice I give is start where you're at, right? Like if you are an Instagram person or a Facebook person, just start with where you're at. Don't add 12 different social media accounts. If you're on Facebook, start with Facebook. If you're on Insta, start with Insta, TikTok, whatever it might be. And eventually, if you want to, you can grow and expand, but there's no pressure to do so.
Perfect. You guys were absolutely amazing. Those were just great answers. I so appreciate you all. And this is why I tell everyone, you got to watch TNT. So thank you
Awesome.
again, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah. Thank you, James. All right, Laura, do we have any announcements that we need to make? We haven't had a commercial break in a while. You got anything for us this week?
Shoot, I should have my calendar open. What is coming up? You know, I don't know if I have anybody in my area, but if I do, I have a meetup scheduled in Modesto at 5:30 in downtown Modesto on the 21st of August. So if there's anybody in driving distance that is interested in participating, just give me a call or a text or an email and tell me you're expecting to come. It's a limit of 20 people. So don't tell me you're coming if you can't come, so I can save the seats for those who are coming.
Well,
and I can't think of anything else at the moment.
you're a networking maniac, Laura, because if that's on the 21st in Modesto, and then on the 24th, you and Jen are going to be up here in Anacortes with me.
Yeah.
Guys, I think there might be, I opened it up because there were a couple of people who had booked twice. But if you happen to be in Anacortes, Washington, or you want to be on August 24th, you can join Laura, Jen Neitzel, and myself, and 18 other Washington notaries by registering completely free, of course. All we ask is that you support the restaurant with food and drink order at notarycoach.com/Anacortes. I think there's only 2 or 3 seats left. So if you want it, grab it.
And Bill, one other thing is talking
Yes.
about networking. Jen and I are going to be in Austin, Texas, the 14th to the 17th of September for training with Brendan Burchard. And we are going to have a meetup there in Austin, Texas. So I don't know more information, but if you're in the Texas area, and I just want to put that on your radar, when it gets closer, I'll announce, you know, where it's going to be at that point. So there will be another one.
And another. But here's what's so important about these shared experiences that we have together in this industry are so important, because we need support. We need friends that get this business. I can't tell you how different a conversation is with friends. I have great friends that aren't part of the notary business, and I can't share a huge part of my life with them because they just don't get it. So having some notary friends that you can count on for support, venting, resources, and referrals is absolutely huge. And if we take that philosophy that people will work with who they know, like, and trust, it works in this community too, right? Like the notaries that you refer people to, it's sure, maybe they're competent. So you're like, all right, I can trust that. But the ones who get the most of your referrals are the ones that you actually like to work with, or they make it easy to work with as well. And events like these notary events help make those opportunities possible. So even, and the next one is Philadelphia, guys. If you're not in Philadelphia, or if you want to be in Philadelphia, Judy Lawrence, Amy Seitz, they're running the Philly Notary Social. This is the 3rd annual event. I'm actually going this one. I promise I'm not having a pulmonary embolism event this time. I'm actually going to be there. We're going to celebrate my birthday as part of the event too. So if you're on the East Coast, or you want to be on the East Coast, join us September 29th through October 1st. The link to book that is in the chat for you as well. Okay. Thank you for those. Yes.
I'm sorry. I think Matt has one.
Oh,
I've got 2, if that's okay.
yeah, great.
Sure. So tonight's Tuesday Clubhouse at 5 p.m. Pacific, the Notary Successful Journey with myself and Laura and Sue Hope and LaShawn Jenkins and Katrina Caldwell will be all about if you're new to this business and what kind of training to look for and what kind of supplies and how to ease into this over your first venture into the notary world, check us out on the Clubhouse app. And the second one I want to announce is the NorCal Notary Family Picnic on September 23rd in Santa Cruz. I think Jeff posted the link in the chat. Scroll up for that. And then also I'll sneak in the CLIN next roundtable will be September 5th at 5 p.m. And I also posted the link in the chat for that. Okay.
Yeah, Matt, that's great. I'm so glad that you brought up the family picnic too, because I was going to hit you up. I think I'm going to fly down just for that day. So I might want to hit you up for a ride if the flights work out.
You bet.
I'm flying to San Fran.
Hey, Matt, can you put a link to the Clubhouse meeting in the chat? People are asking for it.
I don't think we've created a room yet, but if you go on the Clubhouse app and search Notary Successful Journey, it will take you to our room.
And it's not till 5 o'clock today.
Pacific time.
Pacific.
All right, awesome. Okay, so we got all those announcements out of the way. We still got about 12 minutes here. Patty in California, thank you so much for your patience. How can we help today? Patty Kosich, looking for that mute button. I know you're on your phone. There you go.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Sure can. Hi.
Hi, how are you? The reason I'm having a question, and I brought it up before one of the meetings.
Patty,
I'm familiar with Americans with Disabilities for the website. Yes. Can you hear me?
yeah, your connection is going in and out.
I wonder why. Oh,
It sounds like you might be on.
I have a problem.
What I'll do is
well, it's with the Americans with Disability for the website issue. You understand what I'm saying?
yes, I don't. Yes, I don't understand what website you're talking about though. So fill me in. Tell me what you mean. Oh, did we lose Patty? I think we lost Patty. Patty, hopefully you can dial back in and we will bring you back up. Phil Shannon, thanks so much for being here.
Hey guys, I'll call Patty. She's a Legal Shield member. She can call the law firm. That sounds like it's getting to a legal question. I'm not sure though.
Hear me?
Oh, great.
But
Oh,
it sounds
here she
like,
is.
oh, there she is.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
It's somebody called me and said that I had to have Americans with Disability compliance on my website. And if not, then I would be sued from $10,000 and up. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of something similar to this, yes. But the one that I ran into ended up being
Scam.
a scam. And I hesitate to just say it because I don't know for sure if that's the way it is for everyone, but it was a scam. Matt, you have something on that?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm aware of that your website is required to have is a privacy policy link posted. Basically explains what you're going to do with someone's data if you collect data. But I have not heard a requirement for a disabled person's website type, if that's what you're referring to. Kind of sounds like that's what you're referring to.
Yes, it is. It's they say it's like, let's say somebody that's blind, they come onto the website, they can actually access the website.
I don't know about the requirements there, Patty, but Phil, when you dropped off, mentioned that you're a Legal Shield member. So I think this would be a great question for legal
Legal Shield?
counsel. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Just to make sure you're in compliance. I mean, we all want to be
Correct.
accessible as possible. And sometimes the legal counsel is the best way to go on that one. Amy, I know that you raised your hand. Do you have some insight into this?
Yeah, so the only way that I know of that you could be non-compliant for that is if your website just has a whole bunch of pictures and you've put all of your text in pictures, because then someone who is blind can't use read the screen software, so they can't read it. So as long as if you go to your website and then go onto the web browser at the very top, there's a little button. Mine looks like a speakerphone. It says read aloud. As long as the system can read your website, then you're fine.
That's great to know. Thank you, Amy. Great insight. And then Patty, I would highly recommend that you follow up too, just to make sure it depends on where the threat came from, right? Because anybody, anywhere, as my attorney tells me, anybody can sue anybody for anything. So
Correct.
you definitely have a legal counsel on your side to bat those.
And every state's different and unique. So what's right for one state may not be right for the next.
Beautiful. Great question, Patty. Phil, I'm sorry. Let's bring you back up. What's going on?
Thanks. Well, guys, there were so many interesting things that were obviously right. The gun owners legal plan that I alluded to in the chat, I'll talk a little bit about that 5 minutes after here, because as you know, Bill, as Laura knows, as Dashika and Shelley and so many others on here, we do have a plan specifically for gun owners that talks about how you can legally do the things depending on what state you're at. We'll also talk about how to protect and grow your business. Dashika and I actually have something set up for August 20th, where I'll be doing a little more about that as well. Trying to look. And Laura, I just came by you. I was in Denair. I was at Denair Unified School District talking to a couple hundred teachers. I think I'm back there. I may be back there on the 21st. So if you don't mind a non-notary person, I might come and hang out with you guys. Let's see, what else do I got? I was a bunch of different things. And I know there's many I work with here on this. So if you want to join us 5 minutes after, please text me for the link. I'm sure Bill's already put it down. I'll give you my information if you'd like that, but love to tell you more about. We had such a great turnout last week, and I was so sorry that I was the only one who was not a guest on there, so I could not keep up with everybody's questions, and I apologize. It's a nice problem to have, but it was a problem, and I apologize to those who I was not able to talk to after I did my little presentation. So thanks again, everybody. Great seeing everybody, and look forward to seeing you much more. Take care.
All right, thanks, Phil. Patricia Bridges in Illinois. Great to see you on today. What's happening?
Hello, Bill, Laura, everybody. You see how quickly I found the unmute button this time?
I know. You look at you 2 years later, and you're like,
slow learner, but I learn. You know, I'm into the estate planning side of the business, which I love. And you had mentioned quite some time ago about you have to find the attorneys you like to work with, because a lot of them can be jerks, and a lot of them have no knowledge and they have no appreciation for a notary. But I was curious, and I wanted to know, and maybe you know, how do estate planning attorneys get their clients? Do you know that?
absolutely.
You do know?
Absolutely.
How do they get their clients?
Same two places we do.
What?
Referrals and relationships and search engine optimization.
Referrals and relationships with insurance fiduciaries. I was very surprised by that, but it made so much sense. When people are planning their monies, and those people who they're talking to, different insurance plans in the future, they also, once they've had those relationships, refer them to the value of estate planning.
Absolutely.
So I've gotten into that orbit that I'm really enjoying. And because of that and the questions that I write down, I ask no questions while I'm in that arena. I've been able to refer different opportunities to them that they appreciate. And they have really pulled me in more into the business and rely on me. But I was a witness at one estate planning, and guess who was the notary?
Who?
Could you imagine? The attorney. Think about that for a second. I got paid, but they can't do that, at least not in this state. Be the attorney and the notary.
Be the attorney, the document drafter, and
the document drafter and the notary. They cannot. I was curious enough that I checked with the Secretary of State. I didn't tell them because I didn't want to ruin a relationship of getting nice money to be a witness, but I was like dumbfounded. So it just lets you know how many people don't know the rules and regulations or think that, you know, they need to, because they don't think that what we do is really a knowledge-based job. You don't really have to have that much knowledge. But I thought that was very interesting.
It is. It's fascinating, and it's a double-edged sword. That's our greatest challenge and also our greatest opportunity to help us stand out. And I noticed Laura unmuted, so I'm going to bring her up here in just a second. But I want to talk about what you originally shared with us. Is this network of referrals from financial wealth management, insurance, and legacy planning, whatever they decide to call it, and then referring to estate planning and attorneys. And you'll start to see some CPA stuff happening in there. It's called the Triangle of Trust. And it's the legal attorney advice, it's the tax advice, it's the wealth advice, and they all kind of work together. But what you're just described, Patricia, and that even though we have coined this term in the Certified Notary Trust Delivery Agent and NVB as mutual prospecting, it's when two or more professionals have the same customer and they share, they refer. Sometimes there's compensation for that, sometimes there's not. But that core group, that Triangle of Trust, has figured that out years, eons ago. They do that. They constantly are referring to each other because it makes sense, right? You've got to have tax planning, legal planning, and wealth planning all working in conjunction with each other. So when you find somebody you trust and you refer people to, they take advantage of that. They jump right on it. And that's an opportunity that's available to us as well as notaries. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how to best describe it. If it was a triangle of trust, we're the square peg, right? You throw one more peg in there, that's us. We're the notary.
I was approached by one of those people. He had seen me on several meetings. We met at a mutual building. It was a very big building here in Chicago, close to the airport. And I got there early. And he said, "You're Patricia, aren't you?" "Yes, I am." And he said, "I have a couple of questions." I said, "Is it going to end in a job?" You know, being cutesy. And he said, "Oh, we never know." And we just talked and, you know, shot the breeze. And he says, "I see you're pretty smart. You're pretty sharp and this, that, and the other." I said, "I'm recording you." But then I listened and paid attention. And when they came in, I said, I heard him say to them, "Oh, such and such said you were really good with their estate plan. And such is asking about some information. I'll send you that." And I was going, that's what that relationship is. That's who he is. I should have bowed down a little lower, but I didn't know, you know, but it made me think, it made me ask questions. And I said that is a valuable interchange right there.
Absolutely.
And I just thought I'd share.
I'm so glad you did. Laura, what did you have to say on that?
I just wanted to add two things. One is that what Patricia shared within her state of Illinois about the attorney not being the drafter of the documents and the notary is not true for most other states. So that's very state specific information. I don't want somebody in another state to think, "Oh, that can't happen here." For instance, California absolutely happens every day. A lot of them, they are both if they're a one person shop. So I want people to make sure they're hearing the whole thing correctly. The other thing was the thing that Bill's brought up, which is that triangle of trust, that triad, which I was fortunate enough to become a member of one of those recently. And I think that what it tells us is that there isn't just one target out there, right? There's just not attorneys. It's not just attorneys. There's other relationships you want to invest in that can lead to the same kind of work in the end, but they don't start there.
Yes, I love that. You know, when you start breaking into, and this is most evident on the trust delivery side of things. When you start playing the game at people who are playing at a higher level,
Right.
the referrals and the conversation is different. You're not dealing with signing companies. You're not fighting over $60 appointments. These are people who value you. They value their reputation so much that your skills and how you show up to the table actually does matter. So if you're one of those notaries who takes pride in the supplies you bring to an appointment, or how you dress, or the order that you do things, that just the quality of the experience. And if you've ever felt disregarded or unappreciated on the loan signing things, because it's just like they don't even care, they're like, I just get them documents signed. The trust side is different, especially when you're working with attorneys that are playing that elevated game. Those skills, that pride, that passion that you bring to the table will be appreciated on a different level altogether. And guys, we're 3 minutes past the hour. We never go past the hour. I try to hold this, but Laura, Matt, would you mind hanging out for Heidi's question? There's like one hand up.
Sure.
I feel horrible bailing on her. Heidi, thank you for being here. What state are you in? How can we help?
I'm in Illinois. Thank you for taking my question. Just a real fast one. I was wondering if I should start my Google business page if I'm looking to move out of state in the next 2 months, or just hold off.
Oh, tough question. All right, so clarifying questions. You don't have a Google business profile yet.
Correct.
You are operating as a notary public in Illinois as it is.
Yes.
Are you 100% guaranteed that you're leaving the state
Yes.
in 2 months? Oh, I think this is an opinion thing. Matt, I'd love to hear what you say.
You know, here's what I'm going to say, and this is just Matt's opinion. I don't think it's worth throwing up a Google business profile for your current business, because you're not going to get much traction in 2 months anyway.
Yeah.
Then wherever you're going, you're going to have to go through this process to become a notary all over again, which may be months. So I would be in the camp of hold off until you're reestablished at your new location.
I'm
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'm right there with you, Matt. Like, Google business profile is not an instant fix. It'll put you up there, but it does take that organic time to grow, and it takes so much effort. It feels like it would be a little bit wasted personally. But now, what I'll also say on what Matt said is, if I already know I'm moving, and if I happen to have my address already, then I might start laying the groundwork to get that working in my favor way ahead of time. So if anything, I'd probably start the process in my new location now, if that was in compliance with my state law. Helpful?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone. Matt, thank you so much from California League of Independent Notaries for being here. That's calnotaries.org. Laura Biewer, thank you so much for being here with us as well, even with your hectic schedule. You can find Laura at coachmelaura.com. And of course, I'm Bill Soroka. Find me at notarycoach.com. And thank you for everyone that has been here sharing this experience with us, for growing yourself and your business on a Tuesday. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye. And Jennifer Cooper, thank you for all your help in the chat. We truly appreciate you. Bye-bye.